Welcome to Smex Ed. Class is in session.
I'm your host, Amanda King, and I'm here to teach anybody who wants to fucking listen how to have the audacity to say fuck it to societal standards and live their most authentic life. This podcast is dedicated to bringing the sexual conversations we have behind doors onto the main fucking stage. Because sex, masturbation, squirting, guess what? It is all normal. And by bringing these conversations to the forefront, we help people feel less alone in this world. We help them feel safe. We help them gain their power back. We help them step into their confidence and express themselves sexually in this world unapologetically. Because it takes fucking audacity to be your truest self. And we have a boatloads of audacity all up in this bitch. So let me ask you this. Are you ready for some epic shit?
Hello, everybody. So today we are going to discuss sexual performance anxiety and orgasm anxiety because there is so much anxiety about sex that isn't spoken about or normalized. And so we are here to make everyone feel safe and to feel normal. And so I wanted to specifically do a conversation on this topic to inform our followers if you are struggling with some type of sexual performance anxiety. Obviously, I can't go into massive amount of detail with it, but I do want to talk a little bit about why there's so much anxiety when it comes to sex. I want to talk about sexual performance anxiety, pressure anxiety, orgasm anxiety, and some tips, tricks, or ways to help cope with all of them. So why is there so much anxiety around sex? There are a few reasons here. Number one, the second you hit puberty and you start becoming exposed to what sex is, the things you become exposed to the most typically are porn, if you start watching that, and or media, right? The TVs, movies, all of them give unrealistic expectations of sex. Why? Because they are all fake. Yes, even porn is fake. Porn is staged. Porn is not a realistic expectation of what sex should be like. They are literally performing for you. And so we grow up thinking that sex needs to look a certain way or that we need to be a certain way in order to have good sex, which puts so much pressure on every single person on this planet when it comes to the act. So why is there so much anxiety around sex? There are a few reasons here. Number one, the second you hit puberty and you start becoming exposed to what sex is, the things you become exposed to the most typically are porn, if you start watching that, and or media, right? The TVs, movies, all of them give unrealistic expectations of sex. Why? Because they are all fake. Yes, even porn is fake. Porn is staged. Porn is not a realistic expectation of what sex should be like. They are literally performing for you. And so we grow up thinking that sex needs to look a certain way or that we need to be a certain way in order to have good sex, which puts so much pressure on every single person on this planet when it comes to the act. So let's discuss a few things or expectations that the media pushes onto people that are they're not realistic. Number one, the duration of sex. Typically, an average sex session lasts between 7 to 20 minutes. That includes foreplay. But when we see it on movies and or porn, these people are going at it for 45 minutes to an hour. So that makes everyone feel like they need to perform at that caliber, meaning they need to have the stamina in order to last 30 to 45 minutes, which is extremely hard on both parties. And so that puts a lot of pressure on each party to last as long as humanly possible during a sex session. Number two, body image. And I'm going to say as well as making you believe you have to look a certain way during sex, meaning you have to look attractive during sex. We typically on media and porn see people at a specific style of body having sex, right? You typically have the thinner girl with the bigger boobs and the guy's got a six-pack abs. And so we think that we have to look like that in order to have really good sex. And what it does is they look beautiful the entire time during sex, which is unrealistic because when you think about sex, it is a carnal thing that two people go through and two people experience, and no one looks incredible during sex. You look great to your partner because they want to be there, they love you, they cherish you. But in general, if you've ever taped yourself having sex and then watched it, no one looks incredible during sex. But we think we have to look a certain way, so we get in our head and become self-conscious about it. Number 3, the gross stuff. And what I mean by gross is when two people are having sex, sounds happen, things happen, your body reacts a certain way. When two people have anal sex, there's a lot of prep work that needs to be done in order for that to happen. You should never be having vaginal sex and then jumping right into anal sex either. But we see these things in porn and TV, and then we think that's how we are supposed to be, and that's not the truth at all. So when a noise happens during sex, or if you're having anal and an accident happens, we end up thinking, oh my God, something's wrong with me. I'm such a freak. I should be so embarrassed about this, because we're not given the proper education of what sex actually is, which is messy. It's messy. And that's totally okay. And that is totally normal. And when you're having sex, noises happen. Fluids happen. It is two people being sweaty and filthy and vulnerable with each other. And that's totally okay. If you are having, I would say, clean sex, you're not having good sex. And if you are with a partner who deserves to be with you, those things shouldn't matter. If a noise happens, you just keep going. Why? Because you're fucking human. And during actual sex, things are going to happen. People are going to queef. Your body is going to hit against each other. There's going to be noises. You are going to get wet, and there is going to be noises associated with that. People are going to moan and groan and growl and all of those things, and they're completely normal. If you're, like I said, if you're having very kind of clean sex, it's probably not the best sex. There is so much vulnerability when it comes to sex as well, which we don't see in TV or movies. It is an experience for two people that are literally bearing themselves, their souls, their everything to each other. One is possibly being penetrated by something. It is all a vulnerable act. And there is not enough media that discusses that and or showcases that. It looks a lot of times on TV very fluid, very passionate, very sometimes just like automatic. And it's not necessarily like that, especially if you're with someone the first time. You're experiencing something new with a new partner, or you're trying a new sex position, or you're trying a new toy or a new lubricant. There's so many different things that can change a sex scene and make it extremely vulnerable for both of you. And so because we don't talk about this, it's not really addressed, especially in sex education, where sex education is very like, hey, don't have a baby. These are the methods not to have a baby, and or, hey, just be abstinent until you're 105 and married. Like, those are really the only two options that people are given. So sex is also an extremely taboo topic. I should know. It's mind-boggling how sensitive of a topic this is, because everyone has their own preconceived notions about sex. So when people want answers or they have questions, there's no one to really ask it to, because a lot of people are taught you don't talk about sex ever. You keep it in the bedroom. It's something that's filthy and it's something that's dirty and it should be kept behind closed doors, which leads to so many people being miseducated, afraid of asking questions, and feeling unsafe in their bodies. So all of this pressure and all of this anxiety causes us to get in our head during sex, when sex is supposed to be a visceral thing that you experience. It's supposed to be full body. It's supposed to be about feelings. But when we're thinking of all of that shit I just said, and we're compiling it all together, it makes sex be this thing that we are overthinking and constantly feeling like, oh, do I look good in this position? Oh my God, my body just made this noise. Oh my God, I'm so wet. Are they finding it like disturbing or disgusting? Or, oh my God, I just squirted right in their face. Like, what's going on? Like, or, oh my God, I can't get up. What's happening? Like, all of this immense pressure just gets put on everybody, and it is over fucking whelming, which leads to orgasm anxiety, where people struggle to have an orgasm during sex or any type of sexual act. So orgasm anxiety can happen to either parties during sex. And what it basically is that when you are having sex, two things kind of happen. One, you like how it feels, but you just can't get to that climactic state because you're constantly in your head with all sorts of disruptive thoughts, whether it's, oh my God, I wonder if I taste good or smell good, or if they like this, or if I'm doing it right. Pulls you completely out of the moment. And you struggle with even feeling those feelings of getting close to climax. Or it shows up a second way, which is you get very close to climax, right? You're kind of up the climactic hill, you're feeling all the things, it feels really great, and then you start hyper fixating on the fact that you're about to have an orgasm or you're getting close. And that's when you get in your head, you start getting disruptive thoughts, and instead of going over the climactic hill, you roll right back down it. And this can happen to both partners, and it can be an extremely frustrating experience for both parties because we're also taught that sex is always supposed to lead to an orgasm, which also isn't necessarily true. Sex can still be extremely satisfying and pleasurable without both parties reaching an orgasm. But we're told orgasm is the ultimate goal, and that's when we put pressure on having them. As well as there is also, depending on what culture you're brought up in, religion that you're brought up in, your family dynamics, generational stuff, there is so much shame and guilt and fear-mongering that goes into having an orgasm for both parties, more specifically vulva owners, but definitely for both parties as well, depending on your background experience. So compact all of that with everything we spoke about before, and there are people who all of a sudden when they're about to experience an orgasm feel dirty, they feel shameful, and then they get pulled completely out of the moment, don't have the orgasm. So that is definitely a factor to consider as well. What was your upbringing? What was your past? If you have any past like sexual trauma, these are all things that can contribute to orgasm anxiety. A few ways to cope with orgasm anxiety. Number one, identify the why of the orgasm anxiety. So for example, if you are getting close to orgasming and then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I have so much to do today. This is my to-do list. Like, oh, I gotta go to the grocery store. I gotta go, blah, blah, blah. Address the why of the situation. So if you're feeling overwhelmed because you have a lot to do and you cannot be present in the moment, start trying to take things off your plate. If it is some type of generational conditioning and or religious or cultural conditioning or past sexual trauma, I would highly suggest going to see a therapist or a sex therapist in order to help you go through those things, process those things, figure out ways to cope and help you adjust with those things, because you can still experience pleasure even if you've had past trauma. You just need help from someone who is educated and a professional who can help you cope with all of it. Talk to your partner about it. And this one it seems so freaking stupid to say out loud, right? Like, oh yeah, duh, of course I should talk to my partner. But like, how many of us actually talk to our partner when things get a little tough or we get frustrated? We tend to internalize things and we tend to get in our head even more. So being able to sit down and communicate to your partner, hey, I'm struggling with this. When I'm about to have an orgasm, all of a sudden all these thoughts start coming in my head, or I am struggling with feeling sexy in my body, or when I have an orgasm, if I'm in this specific position and I see my stomach in this specific way, it pulls me completely out of the moment. When I'm trying to have an orgasm and I smell something bad, whatever that odor may be, it pulls me out of this moment. Oh, I hate the sounds that our bodies make. Okay, well maybe we need to start adding music. It is sitting here and talking to your partner and letting them know what's going on so they feel included and you both can find solutions to help. Try your hardest to stay present in the moment. So that means sometimes planning out sex. Hey guys, guess what? We're all adults here. Planning out sex is going to happen. Sometimes it can't be spontaneous and passionate in the moment. People have kids, people have work, people have fucking lives. And so sometimes you have to plan sex in order for it to be an experience that both partners enjoy. So if you are knowing that you are going to be having sex, try to clear your plate beforehand. If there's anything stressing you out beforehand, try and talk about it. When you're in the room, try to stay as present as possible. Sometimes this is turning off the lights. Sometimes this is putting music on. Sometimes this is lighting candles in the room. Sometimes this is putting a blindfold on so that you don't get distracted. Sometimes this is having a glass of chamomile tea before you go in so that your body is relaxed. This can be a variety of things. This is why communicating with your partner and figuring those out is going to help. Prioritize pleasure, not orgasming. And I know that that one's hard to kind of hear because you're like, once again, well, isn't the point of an orgasm? No, the point of sex is to feel connection and intimacy and vulnerability with your partner. It's to feel in general. And so when you start hyperfixating on your orgasm, you're literally not going to have an orgasm. It's like you've ever been in a rush to get outside and you're running around your house and you're like, where the fuck are my keys? I can't find my car keys. I'm going to be late. Things are happening. And you're running around like a lunatic and your car keys are in your hand the entire time. That's orgasm anxiety. You are so hyper fixating on it that you're not going to be able to orgasm. So what we want you to do is just focus in on the feelings of pleasure during sex. So just focusing in on, oh my God, it feels so good when they're between my legs. Oh, I love that feeling of when they're twisting my nipple. Oh, I love the way they kiss, rather than focusing on completion. And a lot of times as well, when we are looking at the penis owner side, it is performance anxiety of having to last a specific amount of time when it comes to sex, which sometimes can cause premature ejaculation, delayed ejaculation, no ejaculation at all. And this is because society has told penis owners, you're the one who determines the length of the sex session. And it is your job to make sure that it lasts a certain amount of time so that you are seen or deemed manly or competent or confident or whatever fucking keyword that you want to use, which makes a lot of penis owners feel so much pressure before sex even begins to make sure that the session lasts 45 minutes because that's what they think is supposed to happen. But like we said before, the national average is 7 to 20 with foreplay included. So if you are nervous about the session not lasting long enough or having performance anxiety, a big piece of advice is to focus on foreplay, right? A lot of, once again, sex is meant to bring an orgasm. So if someone does an orgasm during sex, we think we did something wrong. We are inferior in the bedroom, or it means something about us, right? So if you are struggling to not pop off super easily, or you are struggling with performance anxiety, focusing on foreplay with your partner and their partner's pleasure first can help alleviate the pressure. Because if your partner does come to completion before penetration begins, then it may make you feel better going in and take the pressure off because your partner has already experienced pleasure. Number 2, bring toys in to help. Toys are your friends, not your enemies, every single person alive. Toys are not a replacement for human contact, human intimacy, human love. Toys benefit both partners on so many levels. Toys can help with keeping you lasting longer because it's not putting all of the pressure on you specifically to help your partner climax. Toys can add different sensations, different feelings to help your partner climax harder and or faster and or more intense, or just to experience pleasure that they haven't experienced before. If you are thinking of bringing toys into the bedroom, always remember consent is key. Speak to your partner about it. And number 2, pick toys together. That's the biggest thing. Don't just pick toys you think they want. Sit down and pick them together so that you know that that's specifically what they are looking for, and that's going to help them come. Start doing Kegel exercises. Literally everybody. They strengthen your pelvic floor. They make your orgasms become more intense. You have more control over them. You can last longer. Experiment with edging yourself and or your partner. Edging is when you bring yourself to the climactic hill and then you stop all stimulation. Allow your body to come back down, normalize, and then start stimulation again. This can intensify orgasms. It can help both partners last longer during sex. And it just becomes this really great way of body awareness, because then you start to learn how far you can take your body before you absolutely tip over the climactic hill. And just know that everyone has anxiety about sex in some way, shape, or form. And I laugh only because we feel, as I kick this, we feel so alone in life, right? Like we're the only ones going through this. We're the only ones struggling. But the fact of the matter is everyone is self-conscious about sex. Everyone is vulnerable during sex. Sex is something that should be experienced on a really great visceral, just feelings level, but that's not always the case all of the time because of all the immense pressure that's put on it. So you aren't alone. You are completely normal in what you are feeling. You are completely valid in what you are feeling. And my biggest piece of advice is to talk to someone about it. Even if you don't go see a professional, which I always highly suggest you go see a professional, talk to your friend, talk to your partner, talk to whoever you can trust about what you're going through, and you're gonna find you're not alone at all. And I think that's all I have for you guys today. If you have any follow-up questions, always reach out to me directly. You can go to www.smexed.com and submit your questions to me and the other writers. A lot of them have expertise that I don't. And so I'm always here to help reach out on any platform with follow-up questions. And I hope this helped you feel a little bit safer today, a little bit more normal, a little bit like, oh shit, like this is a thing. It's legit because it absolutely is legit. I don't need to feel any shame, any guilt, any worry about it. I just need to talk to someone. I need to recognize it, validate it, and make...
Thank you so much for listening to Smex Ed with Amanda. And some parting words for you today. Remember this, no matter how hard society pushes you down, no matter how many times you fall, as long as you get the fuck back up, they can never stop you. You are unfuckable with. You will win. Don't allow this world to dictate how you show up in it. Don't allow society to make you bend the knee. Instead, make them bend theirs. And don't forget, if you like what you heard, go on to iTunes and Spotify and leave your girl a review. Until next time, my beautiful people.